The circumstances surrounding the Browns are anything but simple. The latest developments have ignited a storm of speculation. I'll break it all down for you in detail, but first tap that like button and share your thoughts in the comments, because despite the chaos, I still believe in the Browns. Now imagine this, dog pound. Just 3 days into training camp, and disorder is already knocking on the doors of Berea. The Browns' notoriously thin wide receiver core, a persistent concern throughout the offseason, is unraveling fast, and the front office is frantically working to keep the structure from collapsing. Their latest move? Signing Winston Wright, a hungry, overlooked pass catcher desperately seeking a foothold in the NFL as injuries continue to ravage the position. But let's be clear, this isn't just about adding depth. This move could dramatically alter the identity of the Browns offense by the time week 1 arrives. For those unfamiliar, Winston Wright went undrafted out of East Carolina after previous stops at West Virginia and Florida State. His collegiate track record, 49 appearances, 187 receptions, nearly 2,000 yards, and 18 touchdowns. That's legitimate production. But there's a reason he's been bouncing around, waiting for a real shot. Well, the Browns just handed him one, assigning him jersey number 38 and placing him in a receiver room that's wide open with opportunity. Outside of Jerry Jeudy, who's coming off a breakout campaign, the rest of the group is riddled with uncertainty. So why is Wright even on the field? Just glance at the injury list. David Bell began camp on the active non-football injury list. Michael Woods is dealing with a hand issue that has him severely limited. And the biggest blow, Cedric Tillman, expected to be Cleveland's WR2, went down with a lower leg injury on Friday after attempting a leaping grab in practice. He was escorted off the field by trainers. While the team hasn't revealed specifics yet, they've confirmed it's a lower body concern. It could be minor or it could be much worse. Either way, this is the exact nightmare scenario fans feared. You can practically hear Kevin Stefanski's frustration in his cryptic coach speak. Everything has everything to do with everything. It's all connected. Translation, we're in trouble and we know it. Let's be honest. Fans spent the entire offseason pleading with the front office to bolster the receiver unit. The only notable addition, Deontay Johnson, a journeyman who suited up for 3 different teams last year. No splashy veteran signing, no proven insurance, just blind hope that youngsters like Tillman would rise to the occasion. And now, barely 72 hours into camp, that hope is dangling by a thread. Tillman injured, Bell sidelined, Woods restricted. It's the perfect storm, and all while the team is juggling a 4-man quarterback competition. That's right. While the receiver room implodes, the Browns are still trying to determine who's leading the offense in week 1. Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, or Kenny Pickett. Stefanski claims he wants to make a decision sooner rather than later, but how can any quarterback be fairly evaluated when their top targets are on the sideline in bucket hats? Even Sanders acknowledged the challenge on Friday. I know whenever I get my opportunity, I gotta maximize it. Even if I'm not getting reps, it's no problem. That's a composed, mature answer, but let's not kid ourselves. How does anyone maximize reps when you're throwing to undrafted rookies and fringe practice squad guys? Speaking of Sanders, he's quietly becoming one of the most fascinating stories of camp. Though only a rookie, he's already earning respect for his poise and professionalism. On Friday, when reporters swarmed him at the podium, he politely asked Browns PR to wait until linebacker Jerome Baker finished speaking. That's leadership. That's the kind of self-awareness that wins over veterans. Sanders may have been a 5th-round pick, but make no mistake, the locker room is noticing, and some are already quietly rooting for him to get the nod. But let's circle back to the Browns' receiving crisis, because that's the ticking time bomb. Cleveland clearly plans to lean on the ground game this year. Drafting 2 running backs and a tight end made that intention clear, but even run-heavy teams face 3rd and longs, and when that happens, someone's got to get open. So what's the contingency plan? If defenses bracket Jerry Jeudy, who steps up, who stretches the field, who makes the tough catches in traffic? Maybe Winston Wright turns out to be a hidden gem. Maybe. but relying on maybe is a dangerous game, especially when the quarterback situation is already on thin ice. This feels like a calculated risk the Browns never had to make. And with each passing day, injuries are amplifying the consequences. Fans have been warning about it for months. If Cedric Tillman stays healthy, he'll flourish as a WR2, but that if is already haunting Cleveland's reality. And though it's still early, the anxiety is undeniable. What if this isn't just a minor training camp hiccup? What if Tillman's injury lingers into the regular season? What if David Bell's return drags on? What if Winston Wright doesn't rise to the moment? Suddenly that run-heavy identity collapses into predictability. Defenses crowd the box, and your quarterback, whoever wins the job, is forced to deliver pinpoint passes into suffocating coverage, throwing to receivers who can't generate separation. This is where things get truly compelling. Browns fans, do you trust the front office's gamble? Do you genuinely believe this receiver room can withstand the rigors of a full season? Or are we staring at a potential disaster that's only beginning to unfold? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. But here's where the plot thickens, dog pound, because this isn't just about injuries or one underdog edition. This entire training camp has the feel of a franchise-altering inflection point. Everything Cleveland has been working toward, a run-centric scheme designed to shield whichever quarterback earns the starting role, depends on offensive balance. But if the receiver core doesn't solidify quickly, that delicate equilibrium will collapse. Let's talk about Cedric Tillman. His role in this offense was supposed to be pivotal. The Browns were counting on him to serve as a dependable WR2 behind Jerry Jeudy, a physical receiver who could win one-on-one matchups and consistently move the chains. His offseason development was a key storyline, but every bit of praise came with the ominous caveat: if he stays healthy. Now, just 3 days into camp, that concern has materialized in the worst possible way. While the lower leg injury might end up being minor, its mere occurrence exposes just how precarious this unit really is. Don't forget, David Bell hasn't even practiced, still stuck on the non-football injury list. Michael Woods remains limited with a hand issue. And Deontay Johnson, not exactly a model of reliability given how his career trajectory has dipped. So now Winston Wright enters the fray, donning jersey number 38, trying to prove he's more than just camp depth, trying to show he belongs on the field come week one. And Browns fans are left wondering, is he a filler piece or will he be thrust into a critical role under the spotlight? Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski is balancing this entire circus while attempting to evaluate 4 quarterbacks, each with vastly different profiles. Joe Flacco brings poise and playoff experience, but lacks mobility, especially behind an uncertain receiver group. Kenny Pickett has NFL reps, but struggled in Pittsburgh when surrounded by anything less than elite talent. Dillon, Gabriel, a promising arm, but still raw and untested. And then there's Shedeur Sanders, the composed rookie turning heads, not with flashy throws, but with authentic leadership and quiet command, his patience at the mic, his deference to teammate Jerome Baker, his rapport with receivers. These intangible traits matter, especially in a locker room watching closely to see who naturally commands the huddle. The irony, Sanders might be the perfect fit for this messy moment. At Colorado, he thrived by cultivating trust and chemistry. If anyone can take a group of overlooked pass catchers and galvanize them, it's him. But here's the dilemma. Will Stefanski risk it all on a rookie in a system built to minimize mistakes, or will he play it safe with Flacco or Pickett? Here's the bottom line. This is no longer just preseason drama. Every rep, every injury report, every personnel decision is now shaping the very DNA of this Browns offense come week one and beyond. If Winston Wright turns out to be a hidden gem, if Tillman recovers swiftly, if Sanders or whoever wins the QB competition can build rapport fast, then this team could shock the league. But if the injuries snowball and this front office's bet on an unproven receiver room backfires, we could be lamenting wasted potential. before the calendar even flips to October. So speak your truth, Browns fans. Are you confident this WR group can survive the grind of a full season? Or do you believe the front office grossly underestimated how vulnerable this unit is? Who do you want under center for week 1? Let your voice be heard in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth Browns coverage. The conversation is only getting started. Go Browns. He was supposed to enter the building as the seasoned veteran, a stabilizing force in a chaotic quarterback room. But when you examine the current quarterback landscape in Cleveland, stability is the last word that comes to mind. Deshaun Watson is attempting a comeback from 2 Achilles surgeries, a brutal injury that has permanently derailed the careers of many elite athletes. Joe Flacco, long past his prime, is more concerned with safeguarding his legacy than mentoring the next generation. And Kenny Pickett, still wearing 2 gloves like he's prepping for an Arctic playoff game, suggesting more hesitation than confidence. Then you have the 2 rookies, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, talented, yes, but unproven. And if we're being brutally honest, no one with a shred of sense knows what to expect from this quarterback carousel. Odds are, at some point, it'll be Flacco and Pickett battling for early season control while the franchise tries to figure out what they've got in the younger arms. But let's be clear, they're not dealing with a quarterback room. They're navigating a minefield. Now, while most of the NFL world continued to scoff at Shedeur Sanders, brushing him off as just another overhyped coach's son, something extraordinary was quietly unfolding during the Browns' OTA sessions. Something so precise, so compelling that it has NFL insiders scrambling to reassess their scouting reports. Sanders didn't just arrive, he announced himself. A perfect 13 for 13, not a single incompletion, not one off-target throw. Each pass was laced with intentionality, timing, and ice-cold composure, the kind of refined execution that coaches fantasize about, but rarely witness from a rookie fresh out of college. Rather than being met with celebration, Sanders' flawless performance sparked something else. Unease, because if Sanders is truly this poised, this polished, this NFL ready, then the league may have just let one of the biggest draft heists in recent memory slip through its fingers. Let's examine the context. Joe Flacco told the media he wasn't enthusiastic about being a mentor. If I say I don't want to mentor, I look bad. If I say I do, I look like a washed up has-been. An honest comment, but a telling one. Flacco isn't interested in building the future. He's clinging to what remains of the past. Kenny Pickett, meanwhile, still trots onto the field wearing 2 gloves, not for flair, but out of uncertainty. That's not style. That's a security blanket for a quarterback unsure of his grip, his confidence, and maybe even his identity in the league. These are the veterans Shedeur Sanders is supposed to be trailing. Instead, zoom out and look at the Cleveland QB room for what it really is. Not a depth chart, but a civil war of egos, injury history, and franchise desperation. Watson's mobility, once a central weapon in his arsenal, may be permanently diminished. Flacco is hanging on by threads. Pickett hasn't proven anything. Gabriel was overlooked by 31 other teams. That's not just skepticism, that's league-wide disinterest. Amid this disarray enters Shedeur Sanders, steady, locked in, unshaken. He didn't walk in demanding respect. He earned it. That 13 for 13 wasn't a hot streak. It was a seismic signal to the league. Every completion displayed elite level processing, poise, and pinpoint accuracy. These weren't checkdowns. These were pro reads, real NFL throws. And he delivered them like he's been doing it for years. Still, the mainstream narrative refuses to evolve. The critics cling to tired tropes. He's just Dion's son. He's a product of privilege. But what they won't acknowledge is the mental toughness, meticulous preparation, and sky-high football IQ Sanders brings into every rep. He's not coasting on a last name. He's forging his own legacy, one throw at a time. Even more impressive, Sanders didn't emerge from a gimmicky, stat-padding college system. He operated a true pro-style offense at Colorado. He called protections, made pre-snap reads, worked through progressions. He carried a program under a national spotlight with every move analyzed and criticized, and he still thrived. That kind of preparation isn't just rare, it's transformational. Most rookies struggle to bridge the vast mental chasm between college and the NFL. Sanders isn't just crossing it, he's sprinting across it while leaving dust clouds of doubt behind. Now, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski finds himself at the eye of a media hurricane. Ownership wants results from Watson and that massive contract. The press is urging him to respect Flacco's resume. He's babysitting Pickett's bruised ego. And suddenly a sixth-round rookie has walked in and made every one of them look like yesterday's news. Stefanski told reporters they're mixing it up daily and exposing guys to different packages. On the surface, that sounds like standard coach speak, but if you read between the lines, it reeks of panic. They didn't plan for this. While most rookies spend their early months trying to keep their heads above water, adjusting to the velocity of the NFL, absorbing complex playbooks, and learning not to drown under pressure, Sanders looks like a seasoned pro. His footwork is refined. His release is lightning quick. His command of the offense has earned the respect of coaches, teammates, and even veterans. That's not just impressive, that's exceptional. And now NFL insiders are taking notice. Whispers are spreading across scouting departments and media circles. Whispers that echo the early days of Russell Wilson's unlikely rise in Seattle. Back in 2012, Wilson entered training camp as a third rounder, quietly trailing veterans like Matt Flynn and Tarvaris Jackson. But it didn't take long before the Seahawks realized he was the best quarterback in the building, and they had to hand him the keys. That same quiet but powerful shift is happening in Cleveland, and it's making people nervous because when a sixth-round rookie begins outshining veteran quarterbacks in full-speed practices, the entire power structure inside the locker room starts to tremble. Suddenly, expensive contracts look like dead weight. Trade decisions are second-guessed. Front office strategy gets scrutinized. That's exactly what's unfolding behind the scenes in Berea. The Browns didn't draft Sanders to take over. He was a depth piece, a developmental wild card, but he's not waiting for a green light. Like, he's seizing the moment. You know, that kind of hunger reshapes locker rooms. It challenges everyone around him, and receivers, linemen, defenders, and to elevate. Practices become sharper, routes more disciplined, focus intensifies, because when Sanders is under center, every rep matters. That's what real leadership looks like. He doesn't have to be loud. His preparation, execution, and consistency speak volumes. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is speaking clearly with every throw he makes. Meanwhile, let's look around him. Joe Flacco may have experience, but he looks like a relic. His recent comments to the media, dripping with sarcasm and detachment, are the words of a man who knows the game is slipping from his grasp. He's not interested in mentoring because mentoring means admitting the end is near. Kenny Pickett, still trying to justify a first-round selection while leaning on short throws and clinging to his two-glove habit like a lifeline. His confidence looks thin, his play uninspiring, and Dillon Gabriel, raw talent, yes, but clearly a long-term project. He's not ready to lead this team. So here's the question no one in Cleveland wants to ask out loud. If Shedeur Sanders is already outperforming everyone in competitive reps designed to simulate real game speed, how much longer can they pretend there's an actual competition? Head coach Kevin Stefanski is now balancing on a razor's edge. He wants to be fair. He wants to reward effort and performance, not reputation, but this is the NFL. And he's juggling millions in quarterback investments. The front office paid $230 million for Watson. They traded for Pickett. They brought in Flacco for stability. The moment Stefanski gives Sanders legitimate first-team snaps in preseason and the rookie continues to light it up, the media will explode. Every drive will become a referendum on the franchise's future. And the longer Stefanski delays acknowledging the obvious, the more it looks like he's protecting politics over production. But he may not have a choice. This is a make-or-break season for Stefanski. Ownership is impatient. The fan base is battle-hardened and unforgiving. And if Sanders shows even a flicker of being the guy, the leash on the veterans will tighten rapidly. What happens when Shedeur throws 2 touchdowns in a preseason debut while Flacco fumbles through 3 and outs? What happens when teammates start lobbying for Sanders, not behind closed doors, but out in the open? That's not just a quarterback battle, that's a full-scale culture shift, and it's already begun. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't just bring talent, he brings accountability, discipline, a championship mentality that forces everyone in the building to raise their standards. He's not campaigning for the spotlight, he's earning it, one immaculate practice at a time. It's not just the stats that have Cleveland buzzing. It's the way Sanders operates, the mindset, the command, the way he walks into every huddle like it already belongs to him. The staff knows what's happening, so do the players, and they're responding